His job in the Florida Senate. The Senator in office and the Senate President, Don Gates, the Senate President, gave me what I think is the most important duty in the entire legislature. I get to chair the committee that oversaw public policy to our veterans and military affairs.
We have now made Florida the most friendly state in the Union for our veterans and active duty military. I was honored to sponsor the Florida GI Bill. Senator Gates gave me that privilege, and I can tell you both Senator Gates and Mike here in office have been just completely unconditionally supportive of our veterans, and I thank them for that. My committee also sees space and domestic security, and we've seen robust funding for the space program. Started back under the leadership of Jeb Bush, where we created an incentive package to bring the manufacturing, the assembly of the next human spacecraft, the Orion, which is now being assembled at the Operation Checkout building here at Kennedy Space Center. I am so honored to have worked with Governor Bush to make that happen. It was a major win for us. The Indian River Lagoon. I was also honored to be appointed by the Senate President to serve on the Indian River Lagoon Task Force. And we've seen significant dollars now going toward projects that will clean up our lagoon. Right at $180 million. One of the largest single state appropriations will be coming to Brevard County for the cleanup of our waters. Certainly appreciate Congressman Posey and what he had to say about immigration. I've been one of the strongest proponents for not allowing illegal immigration in our country. I sponsored E-Verify. Unfortunately, we didn't pass it. I voted against both measures this year that gave in-state tuition to illegal immigrants after only living in this country for 3 years. Amazing. We also had a bill that gave non-citizens the right to be members of the Florida Bar and practice law, to be an agent of the court. I voted against that as well. I feel strongly, and I agree with Congressman Posey, we have got to get tough on the illegal immigration. Taxes, I was honored to support and been fighting for years for the repeal of the tax and license and tag fees. And this year we were able to give $500 million back to the taxpayers this session. I'm excited about the future. Senator Steve Christopoli will be our Speaker. Andy Gardner will be our Senate President, both from Brevard County. We need legislators with experience to help them fight for our community. I appreciate your vote.
Monique, you've got 3 minutes as well to make sure your microphone's on.
Is it working?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for braving this wonderful weather to get out here and listen to the candidates this afternoon. My name is Monique Miller, and I am running for State Senate in District 16, and I think it's time for Miller. Senator Miller. Right? Let me tell you why. So first of all, I come from the private sector. I spent about 20 years in the computer industry, working for companies like Hewlett-Packard, where I managed the Walt Disney account. And now that I've succeeded in the private sector, I want to take that same formula that made me successful there, and I want to bring that to solve the problems. I mean, the real challenges that we have both in our community and in our state. I'm worried about things like the train that's coming right through the middle of our town 32 times a day that nobody seems to want. And I ask, how does this happen? Whose watch is this happening on? And why do these things happen? And I sincerely believe
Tallahassee isn't communicating with us enough, and that's why I stepped up and said, I need to walk away from my career for a little while, and I need to serve. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. The first thing I did to serve was to work a little bit on the Indian River Lagoon. I think most of you are aware of some of the problems that we've had in the lagoon, and I was a little concerned about the people who were trying to solve the problems about the Indian River Lagoon. There was a lot of threats from external organizations that wanted to bring their agenda into our crisis and try and take over our lagoon. I did not want that to happen. So I joined forces with a couple of teams. Marine Resources Council and FIT teamed up to do the Lagoon Action Assembly, and I was on the board of advisors for that group, and I was very excited to see a successful assembly come together about a month ago, And from that, the community had 100 delegates representing 33 stakeholder groups. And we together gave a voice to what we want for our lagoon, not what the outsiders wanted for our lagoon. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. There are a lot of people involved to make that happen. But what I was most excited about is that I was able to coordinate that effort with Tallahassee. And I got involved, a lot of our folks. John Tobias was involved, and Steve Chrysopoli's office was involved, Rich Workman was involved. And that's what makes it successful. It's the community working with Tallahassee together to make sure that when this plan comes out, somebody's there to help fund it when it needs funding. So these are the kinds of projects that I want to work on for you. I want to bring this back to representative government. I want to remind us what it is to be a Republican. Smaller government, not the biggest budget that's ever been passed in Florida history. I'm deeply concerned that we've lost our way, and I ask for your vote to help us set us back on course and remind us what fundamentally we are as Republicans again. Thank you so very much. Monique Miller.
Okay, for the remainder of our time with these two candidates, we will have questions that you have submitted. They'll each have a minute to answer these questions, and we'll get started right away. The first one, and Monique, you brought it up, so we'll let you give the first answer here. Do you support All Aboard Florida, and why or why not? What's the problem if you don't?
So, answer no, obviously not. Not a big fan of All Aboard Florida. And as of last week, I noticed that their lobbyist was not a big fan of mine either. But it's all right. I'll keep fighting. I am deeply concerned about this. There are a number of things that just don't add up, and I've written extensively on the subject. Space Coast Daily published a 3-part article that I wrote on All Aboard Florida that explains exactly why I'm concerned about this. I am tired of taxpayer dollars going to fund projects for billionaires. Why is a state who has about a $70 billion budget financing a project for a company that has about $70 billion in assets? I don't think this makes any sense to anybody, and I want this to stop. If they can do it on their own, I am all for private industry to succeed on its own without my tax dollars to help them out.
Senator Altman.
I do not support a train that flies through Brevard County and doesn't even stop at a single spot. As a matter of fact, they signed an agreement with Expressway Authority when they got approval to come down 528 that said they could not stop anywhere between Orange County and Palm Beach County. That's horrific. A great act of public justice. So I do not support All Aboard Florida. And we must stop it. We cannot allow this train to go ahead as planned. It's going to be difficult because there is no taxpayer money. This is a private proposal. And we're going to have to figure out how we can prevent this from happening. I think it's going to require us as a community to come together. But I think there's hope. I was at a press conference with Marco Rubio, who had some concerns. Joe Negron has now come out concerned with the train. I know the governor is concerned. So I'm hoping we can get enough support, political will behind this to stop this proposal as it stands today.
I didn't write these, just so you know. How much money have the red light camera special interests dumped into your campaign, and what kind of leadership funds are making an impact on the campaign?
I can't really answer that question. It's not a lot. I think it's a smidgen compared to I don't even know if I've gotten any of that money this session. Or this cycle. I do not know. I would say that they're a very small component of what we've done. I will say this though. We're very, very concerned with red light cameras. They were being ran throughout the state by cities and counties with no control, no restriction. There was a big question of whether we had the ability to even usurp local government. So what we did is we created the toughest set of laws regulating red light cameras in the nation, where they required that every site that had a red light camera have a posted sign, gave numerous appeals, required visual depictions of those who run to protect the consumer from any onerous type of systems. And I did it because I think they need to be protected.
As a follow-up, because I don't think the question covered everything we need to talk about there real quickly, if that will stay with you in this part of it.
would you be in favor of repealing red light cameras in the state? They're being found non-constitutional, unlawful in many jurisdictions across the state. Would you be in favor of repealing red light cameras?
I would not. A recent study that demonstrated that there are significant reductions in the deaths of individuals at intersections. As a matter of fact, 40% of our accidents occur at intersections. Again, the key is that we protect individuals. First of all, protect from intrusive government. Second of all, to ensure that they're being operated the way they should. One thing I will continue to fight for is the right for local governments to say no to red light cameras. And local governments have that authority. There's not a red light camera that exists in the state that has not been approved by local government. So I support that. I support local government's ability to oppose them or support them. The state of Florida does not implement red light cameras. And by the way, we prevented local governments from doing other type of video surveillance using these cameras. So I think it's important that local governments, if they have a serious problem, they have the ability to address it, to save lives, protect the public. But we also equally need to give them the opportunity to freely say no to red light cameras.
Thank you, Monique. We'll give you a couple minutes if you want to address either the funding aspect or the legality or the support of keeping those red light cameras.
So, well, I can help refresh your memory a little bit, at least on the donation side, because I just happened to look into this the other day. You had about $2,000 in direct donations, and then in the personal election committee that was set up, you got $10,000 just from American Traffic Solutions in March, so it wasn't very long ago. But you know, I am concerned about this because this is a project that the state of Florida has looked into after it was passed and found that not only did it not help reduce accidents, but it actually has increased the number of accidents we've had. And what they found that was really remarkable is that we've spent as taxpayers, because I consider this a tax, an extra $119 million came out of our pockets that went to American Traffic Solutions and to the state of Florida for red light cameras. Now, I don't see a whole lot of good coming out of this, so the question is, would I repeal it? Absolutely, in a heartbeat, I would repeal it.
You don't have to take all the time. That's okay. We appreciate brevity. Absolutely. And my timekeepers, if you would, remember we are at 15 minutes for each set of candidates, so if you'll let me know when that's up. Are we close? I think we ought to have one or two more questions here before we go. Handled by the legislature and being handed to our local school board leaders was this whole idea of Common Core. If you would, give us your understanding of Common Core, even though they're calling it Florida state standards now. And is there anything to be done to change or improve what we've done so far? Monique, we'll start with you this time.
So this one's another easy answer, and that is that Common Core sucks. I think it needs to go very quickly. But let me tell you why. So there's a couple of things. I think that a parent's right to decide how their child is educated is the most fundamental of our rights and should not be infringed upon by anyone. And that is my biggest concern about this law. Do I think that it's necessarily a bad way to teach? Frankly, I don't know. It's untested, and I'm not sure that we need an entire state full of guinea pigs to find out. And I certainly know that we don't need to spend billions of dollars implementing it to find out. So I'm concerned about it on a number of fronts. There are two things that I think can be done. I don't think it's realistic to expect, even if we change one senator up there, there's still going to be, 39 more that voted for it. And so I can't expect to change their minds overnight. But one of the things that we can do is to immediately allow for anyone that's a private school, or if you're a charter school that's doing well, we do not need to destroy the good schools over this law and at least give them an out. That's the number one priority for me. The second priority is obviously I would love to see this thing repealed. I think it's a disaster, and I think it's something that comes from sorry, I'm just talking about this. But I think it comes from the bookmakers more than it comes from the teachers, and that's concerning.
The biggest threat to our education, the biggest threat from Common Core is having the federal government dictate to our state and local school boards how to run educational programs. And I certainly oppose that dramatically. When Common Core was considered, the thought that it was nothing that dealt with curriculum, it was a broad-based set of standards, which we do need to have. It's important that we have basic standards as a country. Certainly our kids need to be able to read, write, and do arithmetic, a basic understanding of our political system, of history. So certainly we must fight to prevent anything, any program such as Common Core to micromanage and to dictate exactly how we achieve those basic overwhelming standards that we all need to meet. So in that regard, I oppose Common Core in its efforts to do that. I support a system that maintains the ability of local governments to develop curriculum, but we do need strong national standards so we meet those basic skills.
All right, let me give you each 1 minute to close, and that will start with you.
I think what's critical in this election is experience, the ability to go to Tallahassee and be effective. We've lost 24,000 jobs with the loss of the space shuttle program. I have a proven track record of working with leaderships and being effective and representing our communities. I've been doing this for close to 30 years now, fighting for our quality of life here in Brevard, fighting for space jobs, fighting for a government that's responsive, fighting to keep your taxes low. My track record speaks for itself. This is not the time for experimentation or the time to bring someone that's got the experience and the proven track record. In all due respect to my opponent, we have an opportunity here with a Florida Senate and a Florida House represented by our local community. Please elect me to go back so we can fight for our community. I can fight for you, the voters.
So it's true. I mean, experience in the private sector might not be the same as in Tallahassee, but let me tell you something. When you get used to managing $650 million projects for software companies, you build up a little experience, and you work with some pretty smart people, and you learn how to get some things done. And I got to tell you that there's no magic formula to succeeding other than selling your ideas and getting good people behind you to make sure those ideas move forward. And that's what you need up in Tallahassee, somebody who's moving your ideas forward, not the lobbyists' ideas forward. And what I'd like to see change more than anything else is I'd like to bring that voice back. I mean, I don't want somebody up there who we hear from once every 2 years when it's election time, and we get all their mailers all of a sudden, and that's the extent of our communication. I want somebody who's communicating with our county commissioners and the people to make sure that what we're doing up there is what you want, and not having trains driving through the middle of our town with our tax dollars. And that's what needs to stop. And I hope that you'll support me for state senate when you come.
Up next,